Alex loved visiting his grandfather's countryside home, a place of rolling hills, endless green fields, and a timeless, serene beauty. On this visit, armed with his cherished sketchbook, Alex intended to capture the stunning landscape as the sun set in a blaze of gold and crimson. But when he later discovered that his bag, with all his art supplies, was left on the bus that brought him to the village, a surge of panic overtook him. Determined to retrieve it without disturbing his grandfather, Alex quietly slipped out into the night. However, his grandfather was not asleep. He had woken up moments later, only to find Alex missing from his bed. Under the dim glow of the village street lamps, Alex's hurried steps led him through silent, empty streets toward the old bus station. The wind whispered through the deserted alleys, and every shadow seemed to warn him to turn back. Yet his desperation pushed him onward. At the bus station, beneath a solitary, flickering light, Alex found an ancient, decrepit bus parked in eerie stillness. Its peeling paint and grimy, clouded windows lent it a ghostly presence. With trembling determination, Alex climbed aboard. The moment his foot touched the creaking floor, the bus's door slammed shut behind him with a thunderous bang. Inside, the bus was a stifling tomb of darkness and decay, the dank smell of mold and a stale odor of fear hanging heavily in the air. As emergency lights sputtered to life, Alex's heart pounded in his ears. Before him, in the driver's seat, lay a grotesque sight. A headless figure, its severed neck still leaking thick, dark blood that stained the collar of a tattered uniform. The detached head rested on the floor, its lifeless eyes fixed on Alex as if silently accusing him. A wave of sheer terror overtook Alex, and he let out a horrified scream. The moment the sound escaped his lips, a cold, raspy whisper broke the oppressive silence. "Be quiet." The disembodied voice sent shivers down Alex's spine, and in that moment, the bus roared to life. The doors locked, trapping him in a nightmare as the headless driver began to stir. With unsettling, jerky movements, the creature reached for a large, rusty knife, dragging it along the floor with a sound that seemed to herald impending doom. Panic surged through Alex. He scrambled toward the window, his breath ragged, his hands shaking. The headless figure was advancing, the knife glinting ominously in the flickering light. Alex grabbed a nearby metal rod and swung at the grimy glass with all his might. Crack! A fracture spread, but the window held firm. Another hit. The glass began to splinter. The driver was now only feet away, the blade rising for the final strike. One last desperate swing. A deafening screech of tires shattered the night. A car skidded to a stop beside the bus. A figure leaped out, grabbing something heavy from the trunk and hurling it at the window. The glass exploded into shards, and in the next instant, a strong hand reached inside, seizing Alex's arm and pulling him through the jagged opening just as the knife slashed down where he had been moments before. The headless driver lunged, but it was too late. Alex and his rescuer tumbled onto the cold pavement outside the station. The bus, a silent, cursed relic, loomed for a heartbeat before slowly fading back into the darkness. In the safety of the car, as they sped away, Alex's rescuer finally removed his hood. To his astonishment, the man's familiar, worried face was unmistakable. It was his grandfather. Alex's eyes widened in disbelief as his voice trembled. "Grandpa!" Once they arrived at the modest countryside home, his grandfather ushered him inside and bolted the door, drawing the curtains tightly shut as if to keep the darkness at bay. In the quiet living room, Alex sat in stunned silence while his grandfather finally spoke in a soft, measured tone. "Alex," his grandfather began, his eyes heavy with sorrow and concern. "I've always known about the legend that haunts our village. Many years ago, a cruel gang brutally murdered the bus driver here, cutting off his head and abandoning his body to rot in the fields. Ever since, it is said that on moonless nights, the cursed bus reappears, luring unwary souls out into the darkness. Those who venture out at night often vanish, only to be found later at the bus station, dead, with their heads severed." Alex's face grew pale as he absorbed his grandfather's words. "So, you woke up and followed me, knowing that I might end up like those poor souls," he whispered, a tremor in his voice. His grandfather nodded sadly. I couldn't let that happen, Alex. I've spent years haunted by that dark past, and I swore that if you ever strayed into danger, I'd be there to save you. Tonight, I was lucky to intervene in time. But remember, this curse is real, and its shadows still lurk among us. You must never venture out alone at night. The gravity of his grandfather's revelation settled over Alex like a shroud. Though he had narrowly escaped a horrifying fate, the chilling legend of the cursed bus would forever mark his memory, a reminder of the night when ancient evil almost claimed another life.